moonlit night that the hero approached the vile dragon's limpid lair. Time to act.
Children, come, come. You've arrived at just the right moment.
Oh, what is it, Granny? Need any help?
Oh, no. You've done so much for Liyue Harbor. In fact, my old friends and I have been putting our heads together to think of what sort of gift we might give you in return.
A gift? For Paimon?
Oh, child, you are so very modest. Uncommonly so, even. When you traversed my old teapot in search of the cleansing bell, I heard your little friend mention that you often camp out in the wilds. That simply won't do. Especially since I am Fortunately, I have not yet grown so old as to see my subspace creation Oh, did my friends never mention that to you? Well then, it is a I will not go into too much detail, but subspace creation is the ability to create The teapot that you entered previously was a little trinket created you.
So, in the eyes of an adeptus, creating a magic teapot world is just child's play, huh?
Oh, indeed, the teapot is nothing to boast of. One such as myself must depart from this realm to create a world of one's own. But that's enough nostalgia for now. The gift that I have prepared for you just requires a few...
That's right! Finding stuff's what we're good at, after all.
Oh, settle down now, children. There's no need. What's more, I doubt that you would know how to find the materials I am searching for. Well, for starters, I require some shimmer soil from the banks of Dihua Marsh. Back in the day, you would have to dig downward, following the roots of the glazed lilies. And if you were lucky, but almost no one has been able to find shimmer soil in this manner since Dihua Marsh came to be the way it is today. Even more difficult to find is smaragdus jadeite, which must be chiseled from the rock of the chasm. Or so it used to be. Ever since the Blackcliff Forge opened for business, they've slowly... In any case, smaragdus jadeite is an adepti treasure, and the adeptal power within is not something that most humans... Goodness knows if that will succeed in finding these items.
Well, since you're an adeptus, Granny, the person you asked for help, they...
Yes. I suppose she does count as an adeptus.
She counts? How come there are so many adepti in Liyue Harbor? We seem to bump into them all the time. It feels like...
Oh, maybe so. Who can say? A fair few of my old friends are rather fond of mundane...
I'm back, Granny. Oh, I don't believe we've met.
Allow me to do the honors. This child here is Yanfei. She's the one helping run some errands for me. Yanfei, I believe you already heard of the traveler and his...
Of course, who hasn't? Much has been written about you in the Millilith's records. You became one of Liyue's most wanted after the Millilith marked you as a suspect following the incident at the Rite of Dissension. After which, you fought up before finally defeating an ancient god together with Granny and her associates, and subsequently being cleared of any and all suspicion by the Chiseng. A shame that we didn't meet sooner. If we had, well, I can't say that I would have been able to clear you of suspicion immediately, but it certainly would have been less, and allow me to introduce myself once more. I'm Yanfei, a legal advisor. Got a legal problem? You can come right to me. Oh, yes, here's my business card. You'll find it has my contact details and office address. Keep it if you have an urgent issue. Just leave me a note at this address. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, I offer a very
All right, Yanfei, all right. Let's get to the business at hand. I do not think You'll have to excuse Yanfei. She's always been like this. Ever the top.
Paimon was gonna ask the same question.
An Adeptus? I guess. Kinda. My old man said he was one anyway. He mentioned that he once campaigned with Rex Lapis for a long old time. And then after that was all over, they had me, and once I was all grown up, the two of them upped and left on a journey, leaving me with Granny here.
Well, that's a bit casual for an Adeptus. Aren't you guys supposed to sign solemn contracts to protect
Well, my dad did say that he'd talked it through with Rex Lapis, and that he was fine with it. Even contributed towards the wedding gift, apparently. Anyway, let's not dwell on that too much. So, Granny, I've gotten a hold of most of the stuff you asked for, except for Smaragdus Jadeite. I couldn't find any at all.
Is that so? But Smaragdus Jadeite is really rather essential. Yanfei, are you sure you can't find some other way? They have helped Liu a great...
I know, Granny, you've told me 1,000 times already. Well, the chasm's definitely a no-go, but there's still a chance we can figure out... Hold on.
Whoa, that's a really thick book. What?
Commercial consultancy. Or... Snezhnaya? Ah, found him. Krusel! A Snezhnayan merchant who once came to me with some legal queries on certain articles in the legal codices. If my memory serves, all of them had to do with rare ores. He mentioned that he was considering acquiring some Smaragdus Jadeite to make hairpins, and wanted to know if there were any legal ramifications that he should... So, I guess I'll go look for him. With any luck, he'll have gotten his hands on some Smaragdus Jadeite. Oh, you want to join me? I suppose that's no problem, but it's best if you just stand by and watch. If you try...
Wow, an Adeptus imploring us to avoid it. Best we be a little more careful than...
Mr. Krusel. How's business been?
Oh, good, very good. All thanks to your advice, Miss Yanfei. What brings you here today?
You're too kind. I was simply doing my job. Now, I believe that the last time we met, you mentioned that you were looking to source some Smaragdus Jadeite to...
Well, yes. As a matter of fact, in the end, I did acquire a small piece of Smaragdus Jadeite and had it fashioned into a pair of hairpins. Miss Yanfei, might I presume that you have an interest in the hairpins? I must apologize. I've already rented...
Wait, isn't Smaragdus Jadeite really rare? Aren't you worried about the hairpins getting damaged or lost?
No, I'm not worried in the slightest, because I signed a contract. The contract makes it quite clear that if she loses or damages the item in question, in return, I included a clause that guarantees the Smaragdus Jadeite is genuine, with a penalty of 10 times the item's value payable by me to Ms. Jiqiao in the event that it is shown...
Guaranteed genuine, with 10 times the value payable if this claim is shown to be false? Yes, these terms...
Of course. This way, both the client and I have the assurance we need. to ensure.
In that case, might you know where Miss Chow lives? We'd like to pay her a visit and have a look at the hairpin.
Oh, of course. She wrote her address down when we signed our contract. Here, I'll...
Thanks a lot, Mr. Crossell. We'll be off now.
Body and mind. Time to act. Excellent.
Oh, whatever shall I do? Yes, that's me. Is there
How do you do, Mr. Chow? We understand from Mr. Crossell that you recently rented a pair of hairpins from him. My associates and I are very interested in them. Would you mind letting us take a look at them?
the hairpins? I can't lend them to you right now. I don't know how it could have happened. I always kept them right by my side, and I spent so much money on them. If I have to pay their original value, there's no way I could come up with... My family is in the ore business too, but business has been suffering. We now have a backlog of paid-up orders just sitting around, so we've been having to purchase some stock from other ore merchants to A big banquet is coming up in a few days, and several ore merchants I know of will be there. I need this opportunity. That's what the hairpins were for, to keep up appearances. I can't have them looking down on me, but now that I've lost the hairpins...
Why does Paimon have a sudden strong sense of déjà vu?
Would you really? I sent a commission to the Adventurers Guild, but I haven't heard anything back from them yet.
Hold on. Don't run off looking for the hairpins just yet. Miss Chow, would you let me have a look at the...
Huh? Well, I mean, sure, I have it right here.
Let me see.
That's right! Yanfei said she's a legal advisor, didn't she? Maybe she... True. Though surely there must be a win-win...
Right. I finished reading the contract. The terms are very clear, and they do indeed stipulate that you must pay Mr. Cross. Furthermore, the contract also expressly states that the amount of compensation must take current market prices into... And given the rarity of Smaragdus Jadeite, I fear that the final amount of compensation...
Even higher? Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Juchao looks like she's about to...
However, all of this is assuming that it is indeed genuine Smaragdus Jadeite that was inlaid in...
Did you really have to pause before saying that part? Anyway, the hairpins are lost, so whichever way you look at it, we've got to start by finding the...
Except that if we found the hairpins, there'd no longer be any need to check with...
Please. Please, Don't trouble yourselves over this. However much it is, I will have to pay it. My family are merchants, after all. Now that it's come to this, I really shouldn't keep Crossell in the dark any longer.
Yes, legally speaking, it seems this is the most sensible course of action. So hold on a moment, Mr. Chow. When you first touched the hairpin...
What did I feel? Well, I remember that the gemstones set into the pins were... My family has seen much jade pass through its hands in the past.
Smooth to the touch. No, it's nothing. I just need to re-examine a few things.
Ah, Miss Yanfei, you've returned. With Miss Jiqiao in tow, too, I see. How are the hairpins? I trust...
About...
You lost them? Are you serious? Do you have any idea how expensive they were?
I'm sorry. Truly I am. I'll pay the compensation.
Mora! Do you have any idea what I had to go through to get my hands on that Smaragdus Jadeite? I just don't... Forget it. Talking won't bring them back. Since Miss Yanfei is here, I suppose we can just have her estimate the...
No problem. But before I can give an official estimate, I'll need to do a little market research. Ah, yes, and if I may just confirm again, it was in fact genuine Smaragdus Jadeite inlaid into the hairpins, correct?
Of course! Genuine article guaranteed, or I pay back 10 times the value.
All right, understood. I'll conduct some market research, and once I'm back, I'll provide an official assessment of the sum owed by me.
Thank you very much. How could she lose my hairpins? She'd better pay every last...
Looks like I'll have to find some way to raise that money.
Please wait, Mr. Chow. I have something to discuss with you. It's not convenient to speak here, so let's find somewhere that we can sit and talk.
Miss Yanfei, what is this about? Are you here to tell me?
No. What I wanted to talk about is, there is a chance that the ore inlaid on those hairpins may not be Smaragdus Jadeite after.
What do you mean? Are you implying that you already sneaked off and found them?
Obviously not. I'm no adventurer, let alone a member of the guild. I don't run thankless, time-consuming errands for a living. I don't know if Granny told you this, but Smaragdus Jadeite is found deep underground and contains very concentrated elemental energy. If mere mortals come into contact with it, well, they'll be sick in the best case. And in the worst case, they could even experience a dramatic change of personality. Mr. Chow, did you at any time feel unwell while the hairpins were in your possession?
No, not at all.
Now that is strange. I noticed earlier that there were elemental traces in Mr. If I've deduced correctly, he may still have the Smaragdus Jadeite in his possession.
If that's the case, we should go confront him right now and expose his dirty scam right to—
Absolutely not. If we were to confront him now, there's no way he would admit to it. And then he'd throw the Smaragdus Jadeite into the sea the moment we were— After that, he would simply insist that Mr. Chow pay up per the contract. He would lose nothing. Meanwhile, we would have to look under every stone in Liyue, hoping and praying that the hairpins do actually still exist somewhere in—
So vivid that Paimon thinks it might be experience.
Oh, it certainly is. I've seen my fair share of situations like this, and brute force methods are certainly one way of resolving—
Well then, since you're so
Oh, that won't be a problem. But first, Mr. Chow, can I ask you to please sign this contract?
Huh? Does there have to be a contract for everything? Paimon— It feels like Yanfei is even more concerned with them than a—
These are my formal terms of engagement. Everything prior to now has just been pro bono advice. But for me to investigate any further, I require a written— Any work commissioned but not bound by a contract cannot be relied upon.
I understand. Then I will be glad to place this map—
No problem. Just sign here, and I'll sign too. Okay. Now write your address here, and I'll also need your signatures on pages 5, 7, and on the very last page. Finally, if you could just—
This contract has so many pages.
All right, that should do it. My fees are the same as always, and they're written in the contract. Have a look through and let me know if you have—
I've had a read through.
Well then, here's your copy of the contract. I will retain the other copy. Not for now, no. Despite how intractable this problem might— I don't believe you have been part of an investigation like this before.
Miss Yanfei, I have to ask, why are you helping me?
Because, as it happens, I'm currently trying to acquire some Smaragdus Jadeite myself. I noticed strong traces of geoenergy around. Whether he actually made it into an item of jewelry or not is a separate matter. But either way, it's a lead. As long as we follow it, also, the idea of someone abusing the law to their— But again, let's not dwell on this. Let's go to— where? I've got it! Let's pay a visit to Chateau. If Mr. Crossell had his ore worked on at all, Chateau would undoubtedly have been his first choice.
Why, hello there, honored customers. Welcome to... Surely not more spurious claims that my jade betting is rigged and no one can ever win?
No, nothing of the sort. Has a Snezhnayan merchant named Crossel enlisted your ore processing services recently?
A Snezhnayan merchant named... I do remember that. He brought me a piece of ore, claimed that was the first time I'd ever encountered it, so I had no way of telling if it was really Smaragdus Jadeite or not. But he was quite generous with his money, too, so I didn't give it too much thought. I processed the ore.
Do you have any leftover debris from your work on it?
Why, yes. It was my first time encountering this ore, after all, so I kept a few loose shavings to study myself later. They're right over there, in fact.
Thank you, sir. We'll take a look at them.
If my eyes don't deceive me, the cross-sections and patterning suggest that these are Smaragdus nephrite shavings. Yes, it's not particularly rare, nor is it especially valuable. It's used to make jewelry all the time. I've heard it said that Smaragdus nephrite is in fact the outer layer of Smaragdus jadeite, though no one's ever proven it.
A thin layer of separation, huh?
If you must see for yourself, try examining these shavings for traces of elemental energy.
Is that so? Well, So, did you find anything? So they really are different. But wait, how come Jichao was able to tell what it was just by looking at the shop?
There's nothing special to it. It just so happens that I've come across a great many of these in my time. These two stones actually look very similar. Someone without a deep understanding of them would find it very difficult to tell them apart. There may be only a subtle difference for the casual viewer, but that translates to an astronomical difference in terms of the market price, and, I'm sure, a significant difference in the cost of having them carved into shape.
All right, let's focus up. We're going off on a tangent.
But never mind, Shirto. Why would Mr. Crossel...
Unusual actions have unusual reasons behind them. Let's take some of these shavings back to Chateau.
Body and mind.
Try your luck betting on Jade?
What should I try this time?
Miss Yenfei? Might I be so bold?
If you could just confirm for me once more, sir. Mr. Crossel did indeed claim that the ore he brought to your store was in fact Smaragdus Jadeite, did he not?
Yes, that's right. I still have a record of the job with me, in fact.
Then I have no further questions. But could I borrow the processing record and...
Of course. But might I ask why you...
Oh, I have my reasons. Yes. Please sign. This document shall serve as signed proof that these stone shavings originated from the,
Yes, I see.
I wouldn't say there's been an incident, just a minor issue. Thank you, sir. I'll take the...
With this hard evidence to back us up, Crossel won't dare try to deny what he did.
On the contrary, this is far from sufficient. If you want to make jewelry, you need a professional jewelsmith. Let me think. Jewelry. Aha! Got it! Sinxi. She often helps people to find a jewelsmith. Let's go pay...
Well, that was quick. How come you know so many people?
Because lots of people come to me for legal advice every day. As you know, Liyue Harbor is the city of contracts. And contracts, but the amendments made by the Tianquan to our laws are unnecessarily complicated. As such, legal advisors like myself provide quite the
So you help them make sense of the law. But didn't you say that it's hard to understand?
Yes, well, that's no obstacle because I've memorized all the legal codices.
You
You sound surprised. Knowing the law inside out is a legal advisor's bread and butter. Oh, this has nothing to do with being an adeptus. I just like reading things.
Again with that casual tone.
Well, that's that then. Let's go look for Singsi.
See some action.
Oh, Miss Yenfei, it's you. Has something happened? Did the clock
Have no further trouble from then on? Yes, of course. Has a merchant by the name of Crossel asked you to put him in contact with a jewelsmith recently?
Krosel? Yes, I remember him. He's a merchant from Snezhnaya, no? The design of the hairpins that he gave me was quite intricate, so it took me some work to find someone who was up to the job. Eventually, I found an older jewelsmith. This order was on hold for a very long time, and only completed quite recently, which is why I remember it.
Doesn't seem like there's any evidence to be found here.
Miss Singsi, I'd like for you to confirm for me once more. When Mr. Crossel commissioned you to find him a jewelsmith, did he or did he not assert that the material he presented to you that—
Yes, I'm sure of it. The hairpins were made using many expensive materials, and the asking price was quite high, so we had to put this transaction on Mr. Krosel wasn't very familiar with the necessary procedures, so I filed it on his behalf. I also kept a copy for my own records. See for yourself. The item is called Smaragdus Jadeite Twin Phoenix. The inlaid gemstone is recorded as Smaragdus Jadeite. The document even has the official—
Thank you, Singsi. Now, could you let me borrow this document?
Sure. It isn't serving much purpose here anyway. I take it then that there's been
Nothing you need to worry about. Just a minor issue. I'll return your document as soon as I'm—
Why is everyone's first reaction always to assume someone or something is in trouble?
I believe we have almost all the evidence we need. We just need to make one last trip. Let's go to Boo Boo Pharmacy.
The weirdo with the snake around his neck? What do you want to speak to him for?
Because only he can provide an authoritative statement confirming that Smaragdus Jadeite is harmful. Once we have this final piece of evidence in our hands—
My, to what do I owe the pleasure? Though I'm afraid that if you're looking for our little Chi-Chi, she's out gathering. And if it isn't Miss Yenfei as well, now that's an even rarer honor. What business brings you here, might I inquire? Some charlatans peddling—
No. I'm here this time to ask if you're familiar with Smaragdus Jadeite.
Smaragdus Jadeite? Why, yes, there is some information about it included in the 6th comment. The 7 Mountain Treatises states that this substance springs forth from stone marrow within the mountains. It is abundant in elemental energy, so if someone without a vision is in contact with it for a prolonged period, best case scenario, they fall ill. Worst case scenario, they'll suffer great changes. Anyway, I'm sure you didn't come all this way just to chit-chat. Knowing you, Yenfei, and given the specific nature of your question, I suppose that you're about to ask me to write an official affidavit attesting to the pharmaceutical—
That is indeed the case. If you would be—
No trouble at all. It's just a single document. Won't take me a moment. I would mention, though, that you are not the only one who's developed a curiosity for Smaragdus. But after I gave him my reply, his expression shifted to one of remarkable disappointment. I wonder, Miss Yenfei, if your pressing business might be related to this Snezhnaya.
You needn't concern yourself about that, Dr. Baizhu. Thank you for penning us that document.
You're too kind. Take care now.
That Baizhu guy is as weird as ever. Is it just Paimon, or does it feel like he was fishing for something back there?
Dr. Baizhu's always been like that. Well, we have the evidence we need. Let's go find Mr. Crossell.
Miss Yanfei, have you finished your investigation? I trust you will now be in a position to assess the compensation due.
Yes, my investigation is indeed concluded. I can now provide a final figure for the—
Wonderful. Well then, please, could you do the honors, Miss Yanfei?
Of course. According to the stipulations of the contract, Mr. Crossell, you must pay Mr. Chow 10 times the original transaction price in Mora.
Sure. Wait, what? Me pay her? Surely there's been some kind of mistake, Miss Yanfei.
Not at all. According to my investigations and the material evidence that we've gathered, the substance claimed to be Smaragdus Jadeite that was inlaid within the Smaragdus Jadeite twin phoenix pins that you rented out to Mr. Now, the contract states very clearly that 10 times the price shall be paid should the article not be genuine. According—
Material evidence? What material evidence? Why, Miss Yanfei, you cannot I spent a huge sum to obtain that Smaragdus Jadeite, and yet you claim that the ore inlaid on the hairpins is somehow fake?
Indeed. Only a testimony from an expert witness involved in the processing of the ore can serve as an authoritative assessment of whether it is genuine. Traveler, please produce the evidence in question. If we want to determine whether the ore is genuine, we need to start with evidence from the Jade Mystery. Clearly, you still have a few things to learn about this aspect of legal proceedings. This is a processing record from the Jade Mystery, along with stone samples and an affidavit signed by the business owner, Chateau.
Seriously? Even the boss there couldn't differentiate between Smaragdus Jadeite and Smaragdus Nephrite. How does this prove anything? In any case, Smaragdus Nephrite is the outer layer of Smaragdus Jadeite. So I had him cut away the Nephrite, he returned the valuable Jadeite core to me, and some Nephrite samples remain in the store. What am I missing?
That's an unsubstantiated belief.
Well, your claim that my ore is fake is just as unsubstantiated. And we are—
Ugh. Looks like our first piece of evidence didn't convince him at all.
Hard evidence, something legally binding. We have just the thing. Show him, Traveler.
This document proves that my hairpins are the real deal, doesn't it? This is the Ministry's seal, after all. It shows that the ore inlaid on the pins is indeed Smaragdus Jadeite.
Our second piece of evidence didn't work either. And
You know, you could be right. Perhaps the hairpins are the real deal after all.
Of course I'm right. All the evidence shown supports my—
Well, hang on a moment now, because I do recall one final piece of evidence that we haven't reviewed. Traveler, would you do the honors? This shall serve as
What's this?
Smaragdus Jadeite springs forth from stone marrow within the mountains and will bring disaster to any mere mortals who touch it. Sustained contact with Smaragdus Jadeite over a prolonged period will, in less serious cases, cause a mild malady. Mr. Crossell, were you aware of these peculiar properties of Smaragdus Jadeite?
I had no idea.
No idea, you say? I'd guessed as much. But I'm afraid that this falls outside the scope of my work, but within that of the Ministry of Civil Affairs. However, I'm sure that the Ministry will be relatively lenient, considering that, as you say, you were ignorant of the danger you pose. Don't worry, Mr. Crossell. I will make sure that all the evidence presented here will be handed over to the Ministry. I trust that you'll give them your full cooperation in their investigations.
What? Wait! I knew.
Oh, so you knew? Oh, dear, Mr. Crossell. But if you knew of Smaragdus Jadeite's—
Huh? No, The hairpins aren't
actually inlaid with genuine Smaragdus Jadeite? You do understand, Mr. Crossell, that this means that you will have to pay Mr. Chow— Mr. Crossell, your answer, please. My client and I are waiting.
Yanfei's seriously intimidating right now. It's like she's—
I admit it. I confess. The ore I had inlaid on those— But I'm a victim in all of this, too. I invested a great deal of time and money into it, but after receiving it and carrying it around for a few days, I started to feel extreme. I went to Boo Boo Pharmacy to get myself checked out, only to discover that this sort of stone cannot be worn as jewelry. But how could I let all that money go to waste? That's why I had another pair of hairpins made from Smaragdus Nephrite, which is almost indistinguishable from Smaragd. I kept the real Smaragdus Jadeite in a specially made box. I daren't touch it again. I was worried that someone would see through it, which is why I only dared to rent them out, not sell them. And then to top it all off, Chichao lost the hairpins after I rented them out to her.
Exactly! If they weren't the real deal, why'd you make her pay so much?
I didn't want to either, but when I purchased that Smaragdus Jadeite, some of my business partners found out. I knew they'd be watching closely to see how— If word got out that I sold a pair of fake hairpins, then my days—
All right, let's cut the appeals phase right there. I failed to see what bearing any of this has on your transaction with my client.
10 times.
Crossell looks like he could faint any second.
As for me, according to my contract with Mr. Chow, 20% of that sum will go to me.
20%? That's as much as I spent on that Smaragdus Jadeite!
There's no need. It's fine. You don't have to pay me that much, Mora. Even if the Smaragdus Jadeite on those hairpins was fake, I still bear responsibility for losing them. Legally or not.
Ms. Jichao.
However, Mr. Crossell, since you have no use for that chunk of Smaragdus Jadeite, why don't you give it to me instead?
What? But all right then. This cursed rock's brought me—
Miss Yanfei, I'll turn the Smaragdus Jadeite over to you. I trust—
Well, that's not quite how the rules say this should go. But whatever, it'll do.
Thanks so much for your help this time, Miss Yanfei. When you have the time, I'll be sure—
Oh, come on. No need to stand on ceremony. Now, if I may confirm this again, Mr. Chow, have you and Mr. Crossell come to—
Well, yes, I believe—
Well then, that's good. Mr. Crossell, it seems that my client has no further claims against you.
Is that so? That's good. That's good.
Actually, Mr. Crossell, I'd like to talk business for a second if I could see from the hairpins you produce that you're very skilled in jewelry design. My family, on the other hand, works in the ore business, and we have a fair stock of fine ores. If we could join forces, your jewelry designs and our choice ores, I think we could do some fine business.
Let me think for a moment.
Well, that's that. And we've got the Smaragdus Jadeite that Granny wants too. All's well that ends well.
Exactly. Usually when someone tells us they've lost something, we end up searching all over the place for it. But even though the solution didn't involve actually finding the hairpins.
The right solution depends on your perspective on the problem. The objective of my client, Mr. Chow, was to reduce her liability to pay compensation. So, rather than looking high and low for some hairpins, proving that the rented item was nowhere near an Adeptus. Speaking of, you took part in that battle, didn't you? In which case, you would have heard what Granny said. Liyue Harbor is now a city ruled by humans. The title of Adeptus means precious little to me compared to my job as a legal advisor. In any case, don't you think that the Liyue Harbor of today needs legal consultancy far more than it needs?
Paimon can think of someone who would definitely disagree with your reasoning.
Well, since we got what we came for, it's time to pay Granny a visit. I bet she's been on tenterhook.
This is a peaceful neighborhood.
Ah, you've returned. How did it go? Good, good. Then we have...
Well, if we're all set, Granny, I'll get going now. Got a ton of clients waiting for me back at the office.
Oh, you. All right, then.
I'm off then. Bye! Oh, yes, Traveler. Make sure you don't lose the business card I gave you. I've been looking into the laws of other nations as well. If you should ever bump into any trouble with the law, come find me.
Come now, child. Are you leaving or are you not? If you have no wish to leave, perhaps you'd like to...
I'm leaving! I'm leaving!
That child. Goodness knows where she learned to be so rambunctious. Her father was hardly so riotous or... Indeed she is. Liu Yanfei might be overly garrulous, but she is also the most intimately acquainted with the city among us all. Liu is not the same place I once knew. All right, then. Let us...
Oh, Paimon's so excited! How is it made?
It is but a single teapot. It shan't... There we go. This serenity pot, hold it firmly. If you were to drop it, oh goodness, who knows what might happen. Take these blueprints with you as well. You'll need them if you wish to make your teapot a little...
Wait a minute, Granny! How exactly are we supposed to...
Oh, you needn't worry about that. I've already arranged for a certain little helper to await you within this...
This is a...
Wow! This teapot seems even bigger inside than Madame Ping's! There's even a great big house in the middle, but there's just a whole load of nothing around it. Paimon can't do that! Well, you're the one with the sword anyway, you do it! Still, why is it so empty here apart from... Oh, wait a second, what is...
Well, it seems that we have a visitor.
It's a huge finch!
Excuse me, I am not a finch. Hang on a moment. Oh, call me. I suppose you may call me Tubby.
So you're the little helper.
Madam Ping? Oh, you must mean Ping. You may leave all matters regarding the upkeep of... Your journey may be far from over, But at least this way, you will not want for a comfortable... Though it is the Adepti who create realms such as this, they generally do not. Thus, we teapot spirits were created to help guard their... You may consider me a butt. Now, allow me to explain. Have you any blueprints on you? Specifically, as long as you have a blueprint, you can refashion this realm.
Blueprints? Oh, that's right! Granny handed us some when she gave...
Yes, these are the blueprints I'm talking. Just commit the image of the objects to memory and prepare them. Then simply release the thought from your mind and the object in the blueprint.
Wow! Is that all it takes? Then we could build a whole city.
I doubt it. A golden-eyed adeptus explained this to me at some point. He said that even though subspace creation is a product of adeptal power, even this world is not a true one, after all. It provides merely a moment of brief respite from the mortal realm, not a means of escaping it entirely.
A golden-eyed adeptus?
I hardly remember myself. What's more, I have never seen that adeptus again. Well, let's not dwell on that. Have a look around. Best you... If there's anything you would like to...
Heart be pure, evil be erased, mind be purged, world be... I always forget that last part. I take my meals cold to quiet the spirit and calm my vital energies. Genshin infused water with ice is the most effective.